1970s are back, or are we just seeing the similarities? See, today I was going through the gold chart, and when I look into the gold movement, it is kind of crazy. Gold is right now trading around 4,200. When I open the MT5 chart, you can see that gold is traded around 4,200 right now. And yesterday it even came down to 4,023. Do you believe it? And what is interesting is that earlier this year, it even went all the way around like 5,500. See, you can see it on the screen. That is the kind of move gold is doing, or maybe gold is having right now. So nowadays, whenever people saw this kind of move with gold, what will be the first impression, or what will be the first reaction? Okay, there must be something wrong. That is how people will think, right? And nowadays I am getting a lots of things. I'm seeing that many analysts, many financial analysts, they are bringing up the comparisons to 1970s. At first it sounded like a bit dramatic for me, seriously, but when I look deep into it, I started realizing that there are actually some similarities worth paying attention to. So I thought of sharing it with you guys. Before that, if you want to know what are the similarities, you should understand what happened in 1970s, isn't it? So let's go back to 1970s. See, back in 1973, there was a major oil crisis. So when you look at the chart, you can see that the oil price went from $3 a barrel to $12 a barrel within very few months. So just think about this for a second. If the energy suddenly increases 4 times expensive, not just 1, 2, 4 times expensive, everything else will get affected and everything else will become expensive too, right? Transportation cost increases, business also need more money to operate, and at the end, the cost passed down to the consumers too. That is what exactly happened during that time. And the inflation rate in US hiked to 12.3% by 1974. And the growth was also not happening properly. So during that time, people were struggling like anything with the rising prices. But the wages and the economic activities were very low. The growth was happening very low. And you know what the people, the economists call this situation? They call this as stagflation, wherein the inflation is very high but the economic activity and the growth is very weak. So now, am I saying that we are back in 1970s? No, not at all. See, the world today is entirely different from what you have seen in 1970s. Because when you look at the central banks, you can see that central banks operate differently. And countries and the economies are far more connected nowadays. Not only that, technologies, they did a very wonderful job by changing the business, how they function. I recently came across one beautiful article from the economist Jesper Rangwith. So he said, history doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it often rhymes. Yes, honestly, that is the perfect way to describe the situation or what is happening right now. So when you look around, when you look closely, you can see that you will be able to analyze why people are coming with this comparison. See, in today's world, we are surrounded by a lot of geopolitical tensions, right? So the energy issues are happening. So energy prices kind of reacting towards whenever there is a concern to the supply. And not only that, the growth is also very slow. Inflation is also there. So people are thinking that the inflation will go away, but it is not going away. It doesn't seem to go away just as quickly as many expected. Right? And there is a lot of worries about the slower growth in world's biggest economies. Even in the forex market, we can see that the traders are more concerned about the risk of stagflation. So this is not a copy-paste version of 1970s. But when you look closely, you can see that there are some ingredients which looks familiar. That is why I want to bring your attention to gold. See, when you look at the gold prices back in 1970s, you can see that, in 1970s, the gold was traded around $35 an ounce. And by 1980, it actually reached above $850 an ounce. See, this was a 2,300% increase. This has happened not because all of a sudden people started loving gold. No. See, during that time, it was a period of uncertainty, and the people tend to look more into the assets which can hold more value. But interestingly, right now, we can say that the gold hasn't moved in a straight line. If the investors were completely convinced the idea of another stagflation is coming, then definitely I can say the gold will probably pushed higher. But that is different from what we are seeing right now. See, when you look at the gold chart right now, how the gold moves are happening right now, you can see that earlier this year it already crossed 5,500, and it again came back to the level of 4,000 nowadays, and now it is trading around 4,223. See, that is actually a huge move. To me, what it is telling me that market itself isn't sure about anything. See, you can see a lot of opinions, lot of perspectives in this scenario. Some people, some investors are believing that the inflation is going to be a bigger problem. Some are believing that the central banks have everything under control. Some thinking that the economic growth is slowing down, is going to be more, and some are betting on the recovery. See, what we are seeing from the market is like a group, maybe a battle of opinions. This is what we are going to see. This chart, the gold chart, is not giving us any certainty. I think that should be the biggest takeaway from this discussion, because we all are traders. As traders, what is our job? Our job is not to predict the future very perfectly. It is not about saying 1970s are back or everything is going to crash. No. Our job is to pay attention very closely. Our job is to look at what all conditions are changing, to understand what price, how the market is going to price it. See, because when was the last time when the world dealt with stagflation, the oil crisis, a lot of inflation and the slower economic growth, it actually changed how an entire generation thought about investing. See, so the question is, could we be witnessing the beginning of another shift, or will history repeat itself? Maybe, maybe not. But I truly believe that this question is worth asking. Because sometimes when the biggest opportunities or maybe the biggest risk shows up, when everyone assumes that tomorrow will be exactly like yesterday. But the truth is that no one knows what is coming next. But the people who pay attention, who stay very curious, who is willing to adapt to the changing conditions are usually the ones who can navigate these uncertainties at their best. So what do you think? Are we seeing echoes of the 1970s, or is this time truly different? Let me know your perspective in the comment box. This is Vrinda, your Forex mentor, signing off from Primexar.